and welcome to another episode of the D1 Only podcast presented by TAP, Thoughts, Actions, and Progress. My name is Eduardo Villalpando, and I'm your host, and I want to thank our sponsor, TAP, for making this possible. Also, thanks to all the listeners for being here with us. Today, we got ourselves a very special guest, Drew Hanlen. Thank you for being here, man, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for your patience, and I'm glad we finally were able to connect.
Yeah, for sure. Drew is originally from St. Louis, Missouri. During his high school days, he was a two-time All-State selection at Webster Groves High School, while at college he was an NCAA Division I student athlete at Belmont University, where he competed in the NCAA tournament. Now he's created his own brand, Pure Sweat, as an NBA skills trainer and working out players like Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, and many more. So just congrats on a great career so far, man.
No, I appreciate it. It's fun. As a kid, I always dreamed of playing in the NBA and and playing in the NCAA tournament, like you had mentioned. And I got to play in two NCAA tournaments, but I wasn't ever good enough to play in the NBA. But my hard work and dedication and just me being relentless as a worker on the basketball court as a player led to me trying to help other players with their workouts. And fortunately, I worked with some of the guys you named and a bunch of other guys, but it's a blessing just to be around the NBA game and to help some of the best players in the world.
Nice. And that actually leads me to my first question. I guess let's just get started. Before we get into all this basketball related stuff, from my understanding, when I was doing some research, I noticed that you were a great soccer player as well. You got like an all-state selection, 12 goals and 4 assists in Webster Groves High School as a senior. So I'm intrigued to know, how is it that you decided to go to Belmont and you just chose basketball over soccer?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I was better at soccer than I was basketball growing up. My mom played college soccer, and I came from a soccer family. And I was dribbling, juggling the soccer ball and dribbling around cones and kicking the ball against boards, working on my left foot and my right foot, trying to paint the corners of boards when I was younger to work on my soccer game. And I had a lot of success. It's just I loved basketball more, and I really do believe that the first thing you need to have if you want to be successful in anything in life is a true passion and a true love for whatever that is. And I just love basketball more. I found myself gravitating to the gym more than the field. And so I gave up soccer in eighth grade or in seventh grade, actually. And then I took off 4 or 5 years of soccer. And then I played my senior year just for fun because one of my best friends, Matt Hardy, played on the team. And he said, Drew, listen, you already committed to Belmont. You already signed your papers. You got your scholarship. He's like, I'd love for you to come out and help our soccer team win more games. And after 5 years, I still was, the leading scorer. And, we had a really fun senior season. But the truth is, I think that, me growing up playing soccer actually helped me a lot in basketball just because I understood footwork. I understood spacing. And those things, carry over to any sport that you're in.
So would you say you could have been a Division I student athlete in soccer?
For sure. No doubt in my mind, I could have been a soccer and again, football too. I played quarterback as a football player. And, I broke my leg my freshman year in high school. And so I decided, oh man, I'm going to go all in on basketball. But I was just one of those athletic guys that, it was always, really hardworking. So if I decided I was going to do something, I was going to be persistent enough until I was able to get the results that I wanted.
Nice. And I've actually been seeing stories from you, like during the golf game now, right? So you could have been also a Division I student athlete in golf.
I never played golf growing up, so I was trash at golf when I was growing up. But during the pandemic, I wanted to be outside, and golf was probably the only safe thing that you could do. Outside of just spending time in a bubble or around your family. And so I started picking up golf. I hired a swing coach, and I'm just as persistent and relentless at golf as I am any of these other sports. So, I've been playing every day, going to the range, working on practice drills. And, it's one of those sports that I'm still learning, but I've definitely got a lot better over the last, 12 months.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, of course, you went to Belmont, which is like kind of a mid-major school. What would you say are some of the advantages of going to a mid-major / small Division I school as opposed to going to all these big programs like UCLA, USC, Kansas, and things like that? I've actually had multiple guests on the podcast who have told me they actually feel more comfortable in an environment where, I don't know, like the classrooms are a little bit smaller. The professor maybe pays more attention to you than if they would have, at a bigger school like UCF. So from your experience at Belmont, how was that?
Let's start off by saying every kid dreams of playing at the biggest schools possible. When I was growing up, I dreamed of playing at the Dukes and the North Carolinas. And I mean, that's everybody's dream, is to play at the highest level possible. But when I got my college scholarships, I had, 24 Division I scholarships. When I started to look at them, I looked at three things. Number one was I wanted to make sure that I'd be happy at that school if I got hurt. So I had to love the school. I had to love, the people there. I had to love the academic program and all that kind of stuff. So number one was just overall, do you love the school? Would you be happy with that school selection if you got hurt, which is an important question, if you're out there getting recruited, to ask yourself. Number two, do you love the people associated with the program, meaning the coaches, the players, the staff that helps out, the athletic trainers, the advisors, and do you love the professors? So the people is number two. You got to love those people, because you're going to spend 85-90% of your time with, the people around the sports programs, and you're going to become family members with a lot of your teammates, because you spend, all the time on campus with them. You're in classes with them. You're in the training room with them. You're eating with them. You're traveling with them, et cetera. And then the third question is, I wanted to go to a school that it wasn't just fun for 4 years. I wanted to go to a school that prepared me for the next 40 years. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to just go to a school and kind of get through it. You want to get something from it. And for me, I was looking to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to be a basketball trainer after I was done playing basketball. And I wanted to go to a school with a great business program and entrepreneurship program. And, Belmont checked off all those boxes. I love the school. I love the people. I love the academic program, entrepreneurship program specifically. And that's why I ended up feeling really comfortable and committing. And it was one of the better decisions that I ever made.
Yeah, so I guess it's safe to say you're a proud alumni, right?
Super proud alumni. Right now we're, we've been to the NCAA tournament. I don't know, 10 out of the last 15 years, I think. It could be even more than that. We're always in the hunt to win conference championships. And next year, we're actually starting out preseason ranked number 23rd, which will be the first time we're ever, ranked top 25 to start a season. So I just love that, Coach Bird really transitioned. My head coach, when I was there at Belmont, he took Belmont from an NAIA school, then to a Division I school, and then obviously built it into the program that it is today. And my associate head coach, Casey Alexander, who's now the head coach, he took over and continued the winning tradition. So it's really fun to watch, and I'm a super proud alum, and I follow them very closely and cheer them on as much as I can throughout the season.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your playing career at Belmont. While you were there, you went your freshman year from averaging 10 minutes per game to your senior year, where you were averaging 32. I guess, I don't know if you could talk a little bit about how patient the freshmen have to be when they come into college, because of course, when they're in high school, normally if they're going to a Division I school, most likely they're the best player. Like everywhere they've been the best player in high school. So how patient do they have to be, or how patient were you when you got to Belmont, and how did you develop over the years?
It's a hard transition because, like you said, I went from being player of the year in Missouri, winning a state championship. The whole offense is run through me, to backing up a third-team All-American and Alex Renfro, who is still overseas in Europe and doing very well. And so, it's a hard adjustment to make. But what you have to really remember is that when you get there, the only thing that you can do is continue to improve, continue to develop, and when you're good enough, you'll earn those minutes, and then you'll earn the role that you want. And so, I'm a big believer in kind of sticking things through, and being persistent and getting good enough where the coach has to play you. I do think there are some circumstances where players transfer and they do improve their situation, improve their role, and it does benefit them. But I think so many players these days run from tough situations instead of just really, looking at themselves and saying, what can I do to really change my situation? And a lot of times that's just by getting better and improving. And so, I always tell players the first thing that you should do before, jumping ship and trying to transfer is see if you can improve your current situation by improving yourself. Go to the coach, have a conversation, say, Coach, I want, a bigger role. I want to play more minutes. I want, more touches. What do I have to do to earn your trust to get those things and to earn those things? And a lot of times the coach will give you an answer. They'll say, hey, listen, I don't trust you with the ball because you turn the ball over too much. Or, you know what, you're not good enough on defense. You really hurt us on defense. Or offensively, you don't know any of the plays, or you don't know our offense enough, or you're not making enough shots. And then you can go work on those things. But players should constantly be asking themselves, what do I need to do to help improve my team's chances of winning, instead of what they normally do, which is, how can the team help me and how can I benefit more from the team? And I think that when you have a team first mentality, which means, how can I contribute to my team's success? That's when you really find the secret sauce of what you need to work on, what you need to improve on, so that eventually you can play that role that you want to play.
Yeah, and I feel also that especially while student athletes are stuck in kind of these situations, it has to be like so mentally draining, because at the end of the day, with that, they're not going to be able to perform neither on the classroom or on the court. I remember a quote by you. I think you posted this like 2 summers ago or something like that in one of those unseen hours. Or was it when you went to Las Vegas? I don't know. I don't remember. Well, you were like, most of the time when players are going through slumps, it has nothing to do with life. No, everything to do with life and nothing to do with basketball or something like that. And it was just amazing.
It's so true. I mean, if you think about it, anytime you have issues on the court, it leads to off the court stress. And anytime you have issues off the court, it leads to on court stress. And so, really, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that your life's in order so that your game's in order. And you're trying to make sure your game's in order so that your life is in order. A lot of times those go hand in hand, because basketball players, athletes in general, a lot of times their identity is almost through their sport. They've always known themselves as an athlete. And, the first thing is perspective, understanding that basketball is just a small part of life. And, eventually the ball is going to stop bouncing at some point. And so you need to be, bigger than basketball. And the second thing is understanding how blessed we truly are to play a game that we all love. Here I am as a freshman, that found myself every once in a while, being like, man, I only played 10 minutes tonight. And, I think I really could have helped us win this game that we lost, by a couple points. But in the grand scheme of things, I should have been really looking back and saying, man, your 10-year-old self, all you wanted to do was play college basketball. Now you're getting a college scholarship. They're literally paying for your education. You're getting to go to college for free. You're on a team. You get to compete for, conference championships. You get to play in NCAA tournaments. This is what you dreamed of. And now you're here. You appreciate all the blessings that, are happening right now. And I don't think enough players think like that. I think more players kind of look at, well, yeah, I know I used to want this, but now that I'm here, I want more. And my grandma had a saying that I love. She always used to say, listen, you're never going to have everything that you want, but you're always going to have more than you need. And when you have that perspective in life and in basketball, it's a great thing to have, because, you should feel blessed and privileged to be able to play the game that you love. You should also feel blessed that you're at where you're at if you're playing college basketball. And then you can strive for more, but you shouldn't stress for more. And I think that's the biggest difference, is you can strive for more, but not stress for more. And when players really understand that and buy into that, that's when they finally, play with that peace and calmness that allows them to be successful.
Yeah, that's great. And I also, like, my coach actually told us a quote the other day, and that he was like, if the worst thing that happens to you in one day is like you having a bad practice, then you're like really lucky.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, listen, your worst day, somebody is praying for the things that happen on your worst day. On my worst day, I still have food. I still have clothes. I still, have warmth. I still have a roof over my head. I still have people that love me. I have people that support me. I have people that care about me. There's a lot of people around this world that pray for those things. So, you having a bad game, a bad practice, while I understand that you should care about those things, and you should, strive to be the best at your craft, you shouldn't let life kind of go downhill just because you have a bad game, a bad practice, or even a bad slump.
Yeah, for sure. So you were named an academic all conference, if I'm not mistaken, each of your 4 years while at Belmont, which kind of talks about how academically and athletically balanced you were. Would you say you focus on academics since your days in high school, or as you came into college, you realized more the importance of it?
All my life. I mean, to be honest with you, my parents were, you got to bring home A's and B's if you want to, do all the things that you want to do. And they were so supportive of everything that I did. They basically backed me. If I wanted, to play soccer, they supported that. If I want to play football, they supported that. If I want to play baseball, they supported that. If I want to play basketball, they supported that. And they made sure I had the most opportunities. I think that's the number one thing a parent can do, is just basically, try to provide as many opportunities and support their kid as much as they can in whatever they love. And I happen to love, sports and basketball specifically. But one thing that they were very stern on was you got to get good grades because that's going to benefit you later in life. And, I look at all the things I do now and, I was a big math lover. I loved math and now I'm breaking down analytics. I'm studying numbers and I'm trying to help my clients become more efficient and effective. Well, thank God that I loved math and spent a lot of time on math when I was younger. And, there's other things that I learned in business school or entrepreneurship school that I still use today that have helped me grow Pure Sweat to a global brand. And so, I think that school is so important. I think most people just have an attitude of like, let's get through school instead of like, let's get from school, let's get something from school. And while I'd be lying to you to tell you that I loved every class, if I was in a social studies class, I did not care about, anything that went on in the past. And I was not very well rounded. But when it came to business, when it came to math, when it came to the things that I was truly passionate about, I was all in and making sure that I was learning as much as I could.
So do you think student athletes don't necessarily take advantage of the free education that they're getting?
It depends. I think some of them do for sure. I think that I was in a different situation. I was not planning on going to play professional basketball. I knew I wanted to be an NBA skills coach and consultant, and so that's where my energy and effort was focused. And anything that could help me be a better businessman or a better basketball trainer, I was going to make sure that I poured my heart and soul into it. I was somebody that I had when I was in high school. I never read books, but when I got to college, I started reading more books. And when I got out of college, I started reading, now I read, 2 to 3 books a week, just because I want to accumulate as much knowledge as I can so that I can perfect, my craft, both on the court and in the business world. And so I think that really what student athletes need to do is just understand what's going to help them most moving forward. I think a lot of times they have short-term focus, for somebody that maybe is a one and done player. So like a Jason Tatum, a Bradley Beal, a Joel Embiid, a Zach LaVine. I have a bunch of guys on that I work with that were one and dones. Those guys aren't trying to go to college for a college degree. Those guys are going because they want to play basketball. But it would be smart of them if they took classes that helped them with, learning how to handle their money and manage their money. It would be smart to take communication classes so that they can learn how to speak or public speaking. It'd be smart for them to learn how to do all these things because those things are going to benefit them. And so I think that, to say that, a well-rounded education is important, I don't think that's necessarily 100% true, but I do think that being able to select things that are going to benefit you based on your career path, I think those are very important. And I think that more students and student athletes should look at, whether it's books, whether it's classroom sessions, whether it's, in internships and experience, they should look at those opportunities to really benefit themselves for the future instead of just looking at kind of the new, kind of the, kind of waste of time that it is in the present.
So having said that, how do you think being a student athlete at such a high level like it's Belmont help you become the successful trainer you are today?
I mean, there's a ton of things that I could say. I mean, I could say that, some of the business strategies that I learned from Dr. Cornwall and some of my professors helped me out. I could also say that, being able to manage my time, as a student athlete, you have so many demands, whether it's going to, morning conditioning stuff, and then afternoon weightlifting, and then you have practice, and then you have film studies, and then you have to travel, and you have to manage, your class schedule as well, and your homework and preparing for tests. And then on top of that, I was running a business and I was training NBA players when I was in college. So, I mean, time management was another big thing that I learned from being a student athlete and being a business owner while I was also in college. So I think there's a ton of things that you can, make out of being a student athlete. But I think the biggest thing is just try to take as many opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities as you can, because, these are some of the best years of your life. And it's also, a lot of people love to help college students. As soon as you get out of college, now you're just either an unemployed person or you're somebody that, was a former athlete, and they're not as likely to help you out. And so that's a big thing I always tell student athletes is take advantage of every opportunity, try to connect and network with as many people as possible, try to be good to as many people as possible, because relationships matter way more than, connections. And if they do those things, I think then they're going to be able to benefit for sure.
Nice. So you mentioned Pure Sweat, so let's get into that before we get to the final segment of the podcast episode presented by TAP. So you graduated in 2012 and opted to open your brand, Pure Sweat, one of the premier training companies within the industry today. How was that process, just starting from scratch, opening your business, and how did you develop a relationship with all these players? I read somewhere that David Lee was actually your first client. So how did that all happen?
Yeah, so I started training players in high school, and one of those players was Bradley Beal, and Brad went from 8 points a game as a freshman in high school to 24 points a game as a sophomore in high school. When he exploded, everybody was like, "What did you do?" And he had grown a few inches. He had been lifting weights with his brothers. He had, his mom and dad had already, taught him some of the fundamentals of basketball and shooting and stuff like that. But me being able to take his game to the next level really helped me, start my training career. And then I started just training a lot of other local athletes in St. Louis, helped a lot of players get college scholarships, started training David Lee. He went to the same high school as Brad. And so that's how that relationship was formed. And then, as you know, in anything in life, if you're helping people get results, if you're helping take people to where they want to go and beyond that, other people are going to want you to do the same with them. And so me being able to help Brad and then David and then countless others get results, a lot of other people seeks out, my training. And, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of opportunities and make the most of those.
Yeah, and before we jump into the final segment, I want to touch a little bit on, you're still so young, but what people don't know, if you've grinded a lot over the last couple of years. That's what people don't understand. And success comes at different times and different ways for everyone. Of course, there's examples like yourself, like Shams Charania, who is at the Athletic, Omar Raja, who is at Sports Center right now, who I guess a lot of people don't understand that these guys are exceptions. At the end of the day, you have to grind over an extended period of time in order to succeed what you've been looking for your entire life. What advice would you give all these young, not even student athletes or high school athletes, just people in general who want the success right away and they don't have the patience to wait for it?
Well, to be honest with you, there's no advice I can give to somebody that is not going to be persistent and have patience. I think that there's a difference between patience and persistence. Patience to me is somebody that's waiting around. I think persistence is someone that's chipping away, and I think you have to be persistent. But my best advice would be, and again, I know it seems crazy, but hard work is not a separator. Hard work is expected. So what are you going to do to separate yourself from everybody else? And I think that's the biggest thing that people have to ask. As a basketball player, I shot 1,000 shots every day before school. I woke up at 4:59 a.m. I met my principal, John Clark, at my high school at 5:15 a.m. and I shot 1,000 shots every single day. I also, at 12 years old, I gave up sweets. And so those were the things that helped me as a basketball player. As a skills trainer, the first thing that I did when I was trying to learn the game, remember, I was, 19 years old when I started working out NBA players, and I didn't have the years of experience that some of these other coaches, and trainers had. And so I had to kind of, how do I shrink the gap between the knowledge that I need and the knowledge that I have? I watched every single made field goal from 8 NBA seasons. I mean, that's over 1 million field goals that I watched because I wanted to take notes. I wanted to break down the film. I wanted to learn the game. And I thought the best way to learn the game was watch film and then reverse engineer how all those things happened. And so I think really you have to do some crazy things to really help yourself stand out and separate, because everybody is working hard these days. Everyone says they're willing to do anything and everything to make it happen. But the truth is, only the people that are actually doing all those things to separate themselves are the ones that are going to win in the long run.
Yeah, that's a great way to cap the episode off. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for dropping those gems. I've actually got one last segment. This is the last segment of the podcast. It's called the D15 presented by TAP. It's basically 5 rapid fire questions. You gotta answer them as fast as you can. I'm gonna put you kind of on the spot, so you gotta be careful.
Perfect. Let's go.
Belmont or Missouri?
Belmont. You're talking about basket. If you're talking about Missouri as the college, I'm going Belmont all day.
Favorite part of coaching?
I love helping people succeed, and I love putting a smile on people's face. I love that aha moment when something finally clicks and they finally experience whatever they've been striving for.
Favorite college memory?
Losing to Duke by 1, to be honest with you. We played at Cameron Indoor Stadium. I hit 4 threes in the second half. We came back. We ended up losing by 1. But as a kid, I always dreamed of playing in Cameron, and to opening night ESPN game. It was really something. That atmosphere is crazy, but it was my favorite memory for sure.
Most listened artist at the moment?
I'm an old school Lil Wayne guy. Old school Lil Wayne. You know, I'm not a very new school music guy, but if you give me old school Lil Wayne, I'm be able to you know, rap most of his lyrics. You know, so that's my go-to.
Other than basketball related, what profession would you like to attempt?
The thing that I'm actually doing now, I do a lot of consulting for people, like whether you call it, you know, executive coaching or, you know, life coaching. I just love helping people. I mean, to be honest with you, that's why I do what I do. It has nothing to do with, you know, me loving basketball. I do love basketball, but I love helping people. And so, you know, that's what my next kind of realm is to be able to help inspire as many people, to be able to help as many people take action and be able to help as many people achieve real, true inner peace. Because I think there's a lot of successful people that don't have inner peace. You know, that their life, even though they've got everything in the world that anybody could want, they don't have the one thing that they really need, and that's that inner peace. And when I say inner peace, I just mean when you're not worrying, you're not stressing, you have a calmness about you inside, where you're so sure that you're, you know, where you're supposed to be, with who you're supposed to be with, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's what I hope to bring to the world. I hope to, you know, if I had a, you know, everybody asks like, what's your superpower? Think about the Midas touch. The Midas touch would be everything that you touch turns into gold. I would love to have kind of a Midas touch, but everything that I, you know, every person that I talk to, or anybody that consume my content, they found inner peace. That would be my secret power. So that's what I hope to do moving forward.
And when would you say you started feeling this confidence in within yourself, or just being able to help other people? And was it like something in college, or as throughout your career went by, is that you've realized that?
It was instilled in me from, you know, my family. That's the kind of perspective that my family has always had. And you know, I think it's a perspective that I hope to share with a lot of other people, just because, like we talked about earlier, we truly are blessed beyond, you know, kind of even our understanding. And so you know, if we really start appreciating those blessings instead of you know, wishing we had more, I think that's when we start really truly winning in life, which has nothing to do with what we, you know, accomplish or what we you know, we get, but it's basically what we feel and what we give.
Dropping game, Drew, dropping game. I love it. Thank you so much, man. That's all I got for you today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're kind of busy right now with all you're doing, especially getting ready for the off season. But I just really appreciate you taking the time and basically dropping a little bit of knowledge on myself and also on all the listeners, because I think that collegiate athletics is like super important, and just being able to get a free education or some sort of like scholarship and being an athlete in the United States, I think is huge. So I really appreciate you. Thank you.
No doubt, I enjoyed it, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you also to all the listeners for tuning into another episode of the D1 Only podcast presented by TAP, Thoughts, Actions, and Progress. And see you guys next time.